Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out. Welcome to the SWYM-ing Pool with your host, Travis Bridges. Good evening and welcome to the SWYM-ing Pool. I am your host, Travis Bridges, and this is another Wednesday edition of SWYM. It's the acronym for Say What You Mean. Here's hoping you're having a wonderful Wednesday evening. We're halfway through the week. I think it's called Hump Day. Humpity Hump Day. Happy Wednesday, Hump Day. You know how it goes. Anyway, I have a couple of topics and I have something special that I'm going to do. And I do have one and a possible guest. If you are a spades player like I am, we would say, well, how many you got? And then somebody will say, well, I've got two strong ones and a possible. How about you? I think we better go board. You mean you can't get two books? Okay, I think I can get two. Okay, so tonight I've got one and a possible. Hey, Tasha, how you doing? Christine is in the house. Hey, Christine, how you doing? Hope everything is going fantastic. And I've got another, let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. I can fix that. I was just told that I was small. I have never been told that. I'm going to leave that alone. And what my moderator is saying is that I'm small as in my camera. I get it now. So now that I'm not small anymore, I'll crank it up. Wow, man, it's almost Christmas time. And I would have put some Christmas music on, some holiday tunes, but why? I just didn't want to. I hear enough of it, so I'm chilling. Anyway, as I said, I have a couple of topics and I have something special that I'm going to do. I woke up this morning and I had the blues. If you're normal and if you're a human being, pinch yourself. See if you're alive and you're real. You know, we all want to put on a front and say, oh, we're fine, we're great. But every now and then we don't feel so good. Well, this morning was one of those days that I kind of woke up and I wasn't feeling too good. I wasn't encouraged. I wasn't discouraged. I was just kind of, thinking about too much of the things that were not going as good as I think, instead of being grateful for the things that are. So I had to catch myself. But for just that short moment, I was feeling down enough to get some motivation, and I got it. And it wasn't long before I started feeling a whole lot better. So I'll encourage you, if you're feeling down, think about the things that are going good, and it should stop you from feeling down, and you should feel a little better. Happened for me, it could happen for you. So I have two topics, and I'm not going to say what they are together, because when I mentioned it to one of my friends tonight, who was going to be a caller, but that's the possible, I said I'm going to talk about these two subjects, and when I said them together, it just didn't sound right. So I'm going to wait and say what the two topics are when they're not together, so it won't sound funny. Okay? You'll see what I mean when I get it. But I do have a caller standing by, and we're going to talk. I'm going to tell you what those two topics are. They're going to be interesting. But what the special thing is this. This is what I'm going to do special. I am going to, what am I going to do? I am going to read something from my book. I've been editing my book that I wrote over the summer. And you know how it is, you got to let somebody taste a little bit of it when you're cooking. And I've been cooking pretty good. And I was reading something today. During that moment, I wasn't feeling too good. And it's like, wow, I've been encouraging myself for the last 3 or 4 weeks because I've been editing. And every time I'll get to a part, it's like, wow, I said that. Wow, man, I must have been in some deep thought. And wow, that happened to me. Because when I started writing, I just kind of poured my soul out into my book. And it's really some heavy and deep stuff. And when I talk about my book being about my life, someone say, oh, it's like a documentary or something like that, or autobiography. I'm like, no, it's not. But in reality, if something is about your life, it's kind of sort of like an autobiography. But I'm going to try to figure out a way in the editing to not let it be an autobiography, because I really want someone to find some inspiration in my writings, as opposed to just knowing a few things about me. So with that being said, I was editing today and I read something. It's like, maybe I can do a sneak peek and share this with my audience. So I said, maybe I will do that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back with my guest. We're going to talk a little bit, and then I'm going to share that with you. So do me a favor, hold the spot you got. I will be right back.
The Swimming Pool with Travis Bridges is a talk segment about talking. Talk about talking? Yes, talk about talking. It's designed to bring awareness to how we listen, how we hear, and what we do with the information we receive during communication. The mind is automatically programmed to protect the body and soul. It displays that through each and every encounter we experience. If any part of the body is threatened, the mind will automatically issue the flight command. The flight command to retreat to safety. Well, that same command is also deployed when our ego is threatened. The ego, yes, the ego. It's so natural and common, it happens oftentimes without us even knowing. Engaging in conversation and staying focused on what is present is considered mental fitness. It strengthens our emotions and helps us to gain control of our circumstances instead of having our circumstances overtake our thinking and our very existence. It's a difficult task to achieve because our feelings, beliefs, and desires are so strong that it causes us to totally disregard even the most common or basic reasoning. This live stream is only here to bring awareness to that subconscious process. Nothing or no one is actually wrong. However, the idea of being open to anything outside of what we've already concluded is golden, especially if the new information is transparent. The SWYM developers would like to say thanks for supporting, watching, listening, and sharing this information. Now, back to the swimming pool. Let's dive in and swim.
Yeah, let's dive in and swim. We are back. I'm Travis Bridges, and this is the swimming pool. Swim. Thank you very much. It is the acronym for Say What You Mean. And I'm hoping that I will be asked on the couch one day with Oprah or Gail or one of those hot major network folk that'll interview me one day, and they'll say, well, what do you mean, say what you mean, and swim? What's this swim stuff? And I'll simply explain that it is important to say what you mean and mean what you say. Especially if you have an ought with someone, if you have any kind of complications, you can really solve some problems. I was writing I was editing today, and I came across something that I said over the summer that I want to share with you, and that's what I'm going to do in just a few minutes. I do have a caller on the line, and my caller is there. Hello, caller.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what'd you do? Forget to unmute yourself?
Well, I thought you said mute until you told me not to mute.
Right. So when I said caller, that means no more muting.
Okay.
You got it now?
Sure.
Good. How was your day?
It was good.
Good. What made it so
No
good?
complaint. I was able to finish everything I needed to finish before I left because today was my last day for Christmas break.
Oh, okay. So you're already off work.
Yep.
Congratulations. You have big Christmas plans?
Nope.
No? Just going to chill out?
That's the plan.
All right. Good for you. Let me see what my moderators are saying to me. Hold on a second. Yeah. Okay. Got that one. And I have one more just to check. Thank you for your patience. Probably shouldn't be doing this on the air. If I was on radio, I'd get in trouble. And if it was major network, they'd probably throw me off already because dead air is a no-no. So I'm going to get right into it. Are you ready for my topics?
Yes.
Okay. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give you 2 topics. And we're going to talk about them. I'm going to ask you some questions about them. And then as a special, if depending on how much time we get, into our conversation, will determine if we go into the third part. So I'm going to give you 2 topics. We're going to talk about those. And then I'm going to read from my book. I'm going to do a little sneak peek, but I may save that either for my next caller, or depending on how we're grooving, I'll go into that. You okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. You can't be saying sure because it sounds like you're not really there. It's either yes or okay, gotcha. Sure kind of sounds like, and I'm a little sensitive tonight, so you have to kind of cater to my insecurity. Can you do that just for tonight?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that sounds so much better. I was about to get a sure and my little feelings were going to be hurt, so thanks for saying that. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
This guy's crazy. Okay. The first topic is just a word, and that word is called revenge.
Called what?
Revenge. It's the word revenge. Okay? I just want you to put that word in your mind for a moment, okay? And let me fix my camera because I'm told that I'm small again. Am I big yet? Okay, here we go. Revenge. What does revenge mean to you? Don't give me the official definition, but just tell me, what does it mean to you?
Retaliating against something that was done to you.
Mm-hmm. Revenge. Is revenge a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it can be a little bit of both. Sometimes it can. I think it's a bad thing if it's used to hurt someone, but it can be a good thing if it's used to teach a lesson.
Okay, now I heard what you said, and it made sense. But I now want you to give me an example of how revenge can teach someone a lesson.
Well,
and before you say that, I think the word revenge within itself is a bad thing, but because you said you think it can be good and bad, I didn't want to stop you from your thoughts. So because you're out there now, you may as well go ahead and swim. You said it can be a good thing if it teaches someone a lesson. So I now need to know, how can revenge teach someone a lesson? So I'm looking for an example of that. Oh, I think I lost you. Okay, I'm sorry. I lost you for a second. Start over.
If someone does something hurtful to you and you want to retaliate or get revenge back on them, I think you can do it in a way that would teach them the lesson of how it hurt you and that they wouldn't want that to be done to them.
Okay, that sounds good. But then again, now, I mean, this is just because of the way I'm thinking. Revenge, then it wouldn't be called revenge because revenge, has a tone and maybe a meaning. Now, I'm not looking at the official definition. Maybe I'll make that an assignment for you. So I'm thinking that if you're teaching someone a lesson, it's not necessarily revenge. There's got to be another word if it ends up in something good. Revenge has to do with, getting someone back out of anger in some kind of way. Like you said, if someone did something, your key word was if someone did something to hurt you, then you would want to get back at them.
Right.
So it just has that tone to it, revenge. So unless you're changing, I kind of want to know hey Kimberly, how you think revenge can be good, or give me an example.
Well, like I said, if you want to get back at the person that did something hurtful to you, and you want to get revenge, if you want to get revenge on them, then you can still do it in a way that teaches them a lesson that it was hurtful to you. I mean, you're still getting back at them, but you're not doing it in the hurtful way that they did it to you. You're doing it in a way that teaches them a lesson.
Okay, so now I wish I had a third party. And if you're in the chat room, I'm looking for another word that wouldn't be as harsh sounding as revenge. If you're doing something that's, I guess, in a way, because I'm trying to find, I'm trying to bring out the not so good in revenge. And if you think revenge can be a good thing, but is it generally a good thing?
It's not generally a good thing. The word itself has a bad connotation to it.
Right. That's what I thought. But then again, you're saying you can get your revenge in a good way, but it kind of sort of, I don't know. I'm getting tripped up on my words. I guess I'll leave it alone and I'll just move on to it. I know what I'm trying to say, but for the sake of time, I'll just move on. What do you think of the mind of an individual who actually wants to get revenge? Because I think whatever the word is, and I wished I had a scholar that could help me out with what that word would be. Somebody is going to tell me soon enough. But for someone to want to seek revenge, that means they kind of want to see someone hurt like maybe they were hurt. Correct or no? Right, because that's what you
correct.
said. That's what you used in your. So a person that would want to see someone hurt is what kind of person? Is that a good person or a not so good person?
It's not a. Well, I wouldn't say they're a not so good person. I think they're hurt and they're wanting to get revenge or retaliate out of anger.
Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have said not so good person, or definitely not a bad person, but maybe a person who might not either, know any better or may not realize that they can do something that would be considered good or positive, because revenge does mean, okay, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to hurt you like you hurt me. And I'm not sure that's the best thing to do. Wisdom wouldn't teach us to get back at someone that way. Wisdom would teach us to do what you said. Do something to someone that teaches them a lesson, but maybe not harm them. And what comes to mind as we're speaking is my good old buddy, Andy Griffith from the Andy Griffith Show. He would find a way to get back at people and it wouldn't be vengeful. But then again, what he would be retaliating or responding to would not necessarily be a hurt or harm. But we're actually talking about the actual word, revenge. So the mind and heart of a person who actually would want to seek retaliation in a way that sees someone hurt would mean that they're, because hurt, is, I don't know. What do you say about a person that would want to see someone hurt? That's my direct question.
Um, well, then I think a person that wants to see someone hurting or hurt someone else, I think that also has to do with their mentality as far as do they always want to, well, not always want to see a person hurt, but do they just ponder on that to hurt somebody, consistently, or are they just hurting in that moment?
So Tasha just says, and this is a comment, she says, the person getting revenge may believe they feel better after causing the other person to feel the way that they felt. Well, instead of asking the question now, I'm just going to go right into what I think. I think when a person wants to seek revenge, that maybe they're hurt, and a hurt person, doesn't always have to get revenge. But for lack of a better word, I just think that's kind of sad that anybody would want to get revenge to see someone hurt. To return a gesture in a way to teach someone a lesson is kind of cool. I'm trying to be nice. You might want to be, a person might be a little, what is the word? Dysfunctional. I said, no, I'm not going to say that. I think that is a dysfunctional thing to do, to want to get revenge on someone. It definitely wouldn't be the religious thing to do if I was going to do, if I could be that, because, it's not what we're supposed to do from what I'm taught. So I'm saying a person that would want to see someone hurting has a mild dysfunction. Can you agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes, I agree with that.
Why would you agree with that? Do you agree with an eye for an eye theory or no?
Not necessarily. The reason what? Go ahead.
No. You do or you don't. Do you
No, I said.
Agree with?
Yeah, I said I do agree.
You do. You do agree with an eye for an eye?
Oh no, I was saying I agree with what you were saying.
Okay.
No, yeah. I don't agree with an eye for an eye.
Okay, gotcha. So a person that would want to seek revenge, that's a type of dysfunction. Yes, you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. So we're kind of sort of on the same page. I just think that's pretty tough, and thanks for sharing. And I'm glad we're not disagreeing, and we're on the same page with that. I think revenge is pretty mean. You don't put out a fire with gasoline. That rhymed, didn't it? Revenge is mean. You don't put out fire with gasoline. Oh, I'm going to start my rapping career now. I'm going to be bad, too. Big T. That'll be my rap name. T-Bone or something like that. I'm sure that name's already taken. But anyway.
Don't give up your day job.
No, I won't. Revenge is pretty hard, on someone. And to want to see someone hurt at any time is not cool. So I guess the point I'm making is, people do harm to other people, and maybe they should, I guess pay for that in some kind of way, especially if it's criminal or unethical or immoral in some kind of way. Maybe there's a way to be taught a lesson, but to actually want to see someone hurt is pretty tough. I guess that's where capital punishment has its protesters, because it's it is that eye for an eye thing, and you can't get two wrongs out of a right, however it goes. But that's the point. And so I'm just talking about the idea of revenge, and the idea that people can want to see somebody hurt or harm. I just don't think, and I'm just going to give my thought, and then I'm going to move on. No, I don't think it's good. And I don't think you should want to see someone hurt under no circumstances. So if you're doing something, or if something, if you are planning to do something to someone who may have made you feel a certain way, or, try to seek, I need a word for teaching someone a lesson without harming them.
Right.
Yeah, we need a new word. I need a scholar. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to move on. Now I'm going to move on to the next word, and we're going to talk about it for a minute. You have any more thoughts or views or comments on the revenge?
Just that, well, like you were saying, there's some dysfunction there, but I also think that a person that wants to see another person hurt has some internal issues within themselves that they need to, I guess, figure out, or there's something internal that's coming out for someone to want to see somebody hurt all the time, or see somebody hurting.
Yeah, we could have a long conversation on that, and I just kind of wanted to touch on it. We're on the same page, and I think we've made the point already for anybody that's watching or listening. We're talking about revenge and how, I guess, it's not necessarily the best thing to do, in responding to someone that may have not been as kind as we would think. Tasha says some people are just vindictive and do things out of spite. No doubt. Okay, you ready for the other word? We're going to move on. And they are in no way related, in terms of the topic. And this one is going to get deep. And maybe I'll have time to read from my book, too. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. The next word is... You ready?
Yes.
Let me get some music going for the next word. Okay. The next word is slavery. Slavery, an easy word. Okay? You got it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. What is slavery to you? Don't give me the textbook. Just give me, what do you think of whenever I say slavery?
Well, the first word that comes to mind is being in bondage, being trapped.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the first word that comes to mind, and I'm only going to respond to it because it's what you said. In that way, you could be, you could lock yourself outside your car. Oh, no, let's see. You could be locked in the house by mistake. That's not slavery, though. It's definitely a form of bondage because you're bound. You can't go. But it's not necessarily slavery. So a person can be maybe even in jail, but it's not slavery. A person can be put on restriction. Kids get put on restriction, for doing something, but it's not necessarily slavery. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying, but you're in those examples you gave, you're bound and you're trapped.
Well, yeah, you are bound and you're trapped, but based on my understanding of the definition of slavery, it may be maybe the second or even third definition, because again, a person could be, let's just say in jail or prison, but they're not a slave. A person could be being detained on the side of the highway and they're kind of in bondage, but they're not a slave. You see what I'm saying? Hello?
They're in slavery. They're in slavery of needing help.
Okay. So I'm going to give you my definition of slavery, and then you tell me if there's a difference in what you're saying, because slavery is a little deeper than just bondage. Slavery, from what I understand, involves definitely bondage, but definitely a slavery means you are more like a servant to someone. So if someone makes you a slave, that means they make you work without pay, pretty much, or you're doing something with your time, effort, or energy that someone else benefits from. whether it's your body. They call it sex slaves in some of these places, or you're being used in a way by someone else's benefit. Your money, your body, your mind, your muscle is being abused for someone else's gain. So you can be in bondage and still not necessarily be being used in that way. Do you agree?
To some degree. So are you saying that being a slave and being in slavery are two different things?
No. What I'm saying is that bondage, there's probably a more deeper meaning of slavery than just bondage, because I said the first thing that came to your mind was bondage, someone being in bondage, and I agree with you, but my definition was someone being used while being in bondage, and a slave is someone who actually works for someone else that don't get necessarily the same benefits that if you were working. If you are employed by someone and they're paying you a salary, then you're not necessarily a slave because you're not working for free. So I think the definition of slave has more to do with, as opposed to just being in bondage, meaning that you are being used for someone else's gain. You understand?
I agree, but what I'm asking you is, to me, what I'm hearing sounds like to me is that you're saying being a slave and being in slavery are two different things, because you said, what does slavery mean to you?
No. I don't think being a slave and being in slavery are two different things. I'm just saying when you use the word bondage and as it being the first thing that came to your mind, I just wanted to speak of how slavery was much deeper than just bondage. It involved bondage or being enslaved, but the number one definition would be more as opposed to just being in bondage. The example I gave was a person could be in jail and they're not necessarily a slave. They could be in prison.
Okay,
and not...
so you...
Say it again.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, so you're just saying, so you're just elaborating that the word slavery has more than one meaning besides
not that
the
it
bondage.
has more than one meaning. It has, it has more than one meaning, but it has a primary definition and then maybe a secondary and a thirdary and so on, if there's even a word called thirdary. But the primary meaning of slavery would mean someone that's working for someone else's benefit. Like if I make you work for me or do something for me and I don't compensate you for it, then you're a slave. But I can just hold you hostage and then you're not necessarily a slave because I'm not using you to my advantage. I'm just, detaining you or holding you against your will. That's kidnapping more than slavery. You understand?
Okay, I got you.
Okay, so it does, let's see what they're saying here. Slavery occurs when another is forbidden to quit doing a service. Bondage implies the enslaved person is bound by cuffs, chains, etc. Bondage would be casual to being slave. Of course, yeah, she's just repeating what we were just clearing up. Okay, so we're clear now. So would you say that slavery means more of working for free or just being in bondage? Which one would mean more? Which one would be the primary definition? If you had to be a slave, would you want to be one that's working for somebody or someone that's just going to be detained? Come on.
Being detained.
Right.
I said being detained.
Right. So the definition of slavery is more centered around working for free as opposed to just being being held against your will. Correct?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going somewhere. I'm trying to make a point. So, slavery. Can you give me an example? I mean, I gave you an example like a person being in jail. Can you just give me an example of slavery as I explained it? Oh, no, don't do that. That's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is give me a different. You said the first thing that came to mind was a person just being in bondage, and that is a part of slavery. But now what I want you to do is tell me, the primary definition of slavery. Can you give me an example of what slavery would be from your thoughts now that we've talked about it? Just give me your example of slavery.
Oh, shut up.
Come on, I need you.
I can't think of one right offhand.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. So, slavery means making someone work where you benefit. You just agree with that. Just say yes or no. When someone is a slave to someone, they're in bondage. They're in captivity in some sort. But then they're being used for someone else's gain. Correct? You said it already. Just say yes so we can move on.
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with what?
What you just said.
All I said
that
was...
somebody's being used for their gain. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding what you said.
Yeah, maybe. So what I'm saying is I'm just concluding and wrapping up before I move on. Slavery ultimately is an example of slavery would be someone definitely being detained or in captivity of some sort, but then someone being used for someone else's gain. In other words, if I make you work or if I make you do something pretty much against your will and then I benefit from it, then that is considered slavery. Are you agreeing with that as the primary of the definition of slave?
Yes, I do agree with that.
Okay, well, I was going somewhere, and I will pick up on those two. I'm just kind of sort of planting the seed on those two topics. What I'm going to do now is move right into what I wanted to talk about. I was reading today, and then we can talk about it because I think you're going to be my only caller, and I think we're going to use up all the time. So I was telling my audience earlier this morning, I kind of woke up and I was just not feeling my best. And then it's just like I had to encourage myself, and I did so. But as I started to edit, I've been running across a lot of things that's just been shocking to me from, my experiences, what I'm writing about. But today in particular, I thought I would share what I was writing about. And I'm going to read something from my book, and I want you to listen carefully to what I'm saying. If you have questions with what I'm saying, by all means, ask me. If you need to make notes while I'm reading that too, because what I'm about to say to me is very deep. And I want to discuss the point that I'm making in what I'm going to read and share, because my book is full of stuff like this, and it really gets deep and intense in other places. So this is kind of shallow enough and deep at the same time that I want to just do a little sneak peek and share it. So I want you to have either thoughts, views, comments, and or, questions in some kind of way. So are you ready?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to pick up from the part that I was reading. Okay, you ready? For some reason, I thought that I okay, I'll start over. This is my own writing. For some reason, I thought that I could convince other people of how lengthy discussions would leave less room for error or misunderstanding. And often, after sometimes exhausting conversations, I would indeed feel better, but my counterparts would express feelings of aggravation. For some reason, I began to develop more of a passion for the idea that thorough communication would always solve any misunderstanding. for some reason, I felt that if anyone ever found themselves perplexed, confused, or disappointed, it was a direct result of a lack of knowledge or understanding. I am still very convinced of this idea and or discovery. It only makes sense because our souls are built out of materials that include peace and love. Fear and confusion are emotions or feelings that we later attach to, or they somehow attach to us. I find no reason to ever not be at peace, particularly with another person who also can understand or reason with this idea. If I may quote my all-time favorite book, which states, "We are not given the spirit of fear. And if indeed we are given a spirit of power and a sound mind, the ability to reach an understanding is a reasonable expectation." So, when indeed two or more people find themselves in any type of disagreement, it has to be from a lack of knowledge and or understanding. Of course, this is too simple and easy to be true. And then I LOL that, but I went on to make quite a few major points that I'll save for anyone that would be interested or that would continue to read, because it really does end with a massive enlightenment of, that's thought. That was just kind of baiting the hook for where I was going. Did you hear it? Did you understand it? Do you even remember what I just read? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Thoughts, views, comments, or questions? Oh, God, if you say no, it's going to really mess up our time.
If I say no, I said yes.
You do have thoughts, views, comments, or questions?
Oh, you were asking a question. If
No.
I have thoughts.
Well, no. After I read what I read, do you understand it? Does it make sense? Do you have questions about what I just said? Do you even remember it?
I said yes. I've heard what you said.
Right. So now, do you have thoughts, views, questions, or comments?
No, it's just from what you read. It just.
I was hoping
No,
you would.
let's.
That's why I read all that, so that we could discuss it. Of course, I can.
I don't
come
have
up with something.
questions. I don't have questions. I was
What do
just
you
going to
have?
make a comment.
Oh, that's what I was asking you then. Make your comment. That's what I want.
Well, my comment was just that you were summarizing, from what I understood, you were summarizing where you're going with your live stream as far as your acronym, in hopes that people can, come to an understanding of what each person is saying and how they're saying it and how you perceive what another person is saying.
I think maybe the bigger picture was thorough communication and having a conversation or lengthy conversations to make sure, there is an understanding. When a person walks away from a conversation, if they're uneasy in any kind of way, something went wrong. Somebody either misunderstood something or did not get enough information if the object is to solve the issue. So I'm saying that, because of my live streams, the bee that flew in my bonnet, and even this part of the book, I'm convinced that everything can be solved. And if a person feels perplexed in any kind of way, after having a conversation in an effort to solve an issue, perhaps they missed something. Perhaps they might need to come back and communicate again. Do you agree with that at all?
I do agree with it. I believe also that sometimes you have to meet people where they are. Some people don't want to, they don't want to have an open mind from their viewpoint. Some people are just stuck in the way that they think and are not open to listening to other reasonings or other explanations of what could be.
Well, we are all that way. When you say some people, I'm gonna jump in that boat and say, yeah, I'm kind of like that too. But the desire is deep within my heart to want to resolve, any kind of conflict. Maybe that's why I'm becoming such an advocate for, resolving conflict through conversation and communication and trying to make sure, someone understands. And I think we need to base, our communication and conversation on the three things that I talk about in regards to principles, law, reasoning, basic common reasoning. And then again, being okay with what you discovered. Sometimes if you just want to, sometimes you say misery loves company. If someone, including myself, if I just want to be miserable, then I'm not going to try to resolve anything. I'm not going to try to hear or listen. I'm just going to say it's either my way or the highway. So with that being said, do you agree that any issue can and should be resolved if people are willing to communicate and talk instead of, be mad?
I agree. If they're willing, then I think the key point there is if they're willing. That's what I was saying. Some
Wow.
people
Go ahead.
are not willing because they're just stuck and,
But
just don't want to have that kind of a conversation.
Christine she has a question for me. She says, what do you mean by having lengthy conversations? Thank you, Christine, for your question. I'm going to answer that for her. Lengthy conversation was just a term that I used, so that I couldn't hide behind my own character and personality. I've been told that I talk too much, sometimes too long, and I'm, redundant sometimes. And I agree. I might be all of that and then some. But I said lengthy conversation because I think if you have a conversation with someone, especially if there's a misunderstanding and there's still not an understanding, the conversation needs to continue or pick up at another day or time. Of course, nobody wants to beat a dead horse. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if the object is to come to a mutual agreement, when there's a misunderstanding, you've got to talk and you've got to hear, you've got to listen, and you've got to do the main thing that I didn't say, reason. You got to reason, when in situations like that. So to answer your question, lengthy conversations means, communicating and or talking, until you at least reach a reasonable understanding to settle any kind of dispute or to resolve any kind of conflict that you might have with brother, sister, husband, wife, co-workers or whoever, neighbors even. People need to talk and communicate, and instead of shooting and asking questions later.
What?
I said,
What are you saying?
people need to talk and communicate instead of shooting first and asking questions later. Because then after you do that, then it's too late. So with that being said, she wanted to know what I meant. So my point is, do you believe everything can or should be resolved? Why not? I mean, if two adults, communicate and they talk, you don't have to like something. Okay. If how do I say it? If I take care of my grass really good, I fertilize and I cut the grass and edge it and trim it every day, and then you decide you want to have a party every weekend and have your friends park on my grass. Okay. I need to come and knock on your door and say, hey, listen, I know y'all have parties and you like to park on your grass, but I don't want you parking on my grass. Now, we have a problem. We need to reason. First of all, this is my yard. I take care of my grass a little different than you take care of your grass. I don't want car tire tracks and oil and transmission fluid and whatever else leaking out on my yard from your guest. So we should be able to talk that through. Now, the guest could, my neighbor could say, hey, man, it's just grass. Why are you worried about it? We're having a party. We sent you a notice. We even invite you over. And I could say, well, yeah, I know I'm not interested. I may come over later and hang out, but The issue is, hey, don't park on my grass. Okay. We should be able to work that out instead of fighting in the yard and sounding off weapons. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the point I'm making. I think every situation is that same way, just as simple as reasoning. Okay, you don't park on your neighbor's grass, and I don't care if you don't like it. No sense in egging his house because he doesn't want you parking on his grass. You know, you got to be reasonable and you got to be sensible, and you have to base that on, you know, basic principles, points of reference, and maybe even the law. So with that being said, I think I have made my point, and I like, you know, to hear, you know, you respond. I like to hear you talk, you know, and that goes for all of my guests, you know, at the end of, you know, conversation. But not everybody likes to talk, and people are shy for whatever reason. I don't know why, but, any closing thoughts, views, or comments? Because we only have a few minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and let you go. But I appreciate you being on. Please say something before you go.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. You just need to, well, I won't say that, but...
Let me guess. Let you know at a more advanced time? Is that what you were going to say? Yeah, well, you already told me that. My audience don't care. If you think I need to be, you know, letting you know, because
it don't matter if they care. Yeah, I don't care if they care or not.
You just want
I'm
to
an
get
organized person
in front of my audience. That's what you want to do.
No.
You want to shame me.
I'm saying it out in case somebody else may be wanting to say it too.
Oh, I can only imagine they do, but you know, you have to be ready at all times. You know,
no.
I'm taking that out of context.
Yes, you are.
Okay, well, I appreciate you being with me on the last minute. I think what I had to say was good. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. You can go ahead and get your little beauty rest, okay?
I appreciate it.
All right, have yourself a good night and have a Merry Christmas, okay?
All right, thanks. You do the same.
Okay, bye. You have to hang up now because I don't know how to hang up my phone. Hang up. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay. All right. That was my guess. And we were talking about revenge, and then we went into slavery, and they were in no way, you know, connected in any kind of way. That was not why I had those two things in my mind. I'm going to talk about them later on in the week and some other, I mean, not in the week, but later on some other live streams. I'm going to go into more detail. I just kind of wanted to put them out there to see what kind of response I would get. And I am going somewhere with both of those, and I'm going to talk about them. And even the little sneak peek from my book, if you're watching this, rewind it back and check it out. And hopefully, you know, you got something out of it. I definitely did. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. Christine is always there with me. Tasha and Kimberly, thank you so much. Let's see, it looks like I've got 6 people now and 14 playbacks. So quite a few people did come in. With that being said, have yourself a good night. I appreciate you. Remember to say what you mean what you say. And if you don't feel good about, you know, walking away from a conversation, do yourself a favor. Do the other person a favor. Call them back. Talk to them. Leave the door open. Leave the door open. Not for that reason, though, but to resolve any kind of conflict, okay? All right. Find somebody you need to say I love you to. Don't just say it, but also mean it and show it, okay?
Mighty Horn Music. Smooth jazz, top 40, R&B, inspirationals, and more. Live from the Hollywood Home Studio. Like, share, subscribe. And thanks for tuning in.